Okay, so we are going to begin our new grade 11 topic on this unit. And by the way, this unit is called Functions and Their Transformations. And we're first going to talk about what exactly is a function. So there are actually two words where when you're given a graph or an equation or something, you can describe it as being a relation or a function. A relation is any set of input that has an output. So anytime you have a coordinate, anytime you have an X and a Y value paired together, doesn't matter if they have a relationship or not, like 10, 50, those are just random numbers. But if I pair an X and a Y, an input and an output together, that is called a relation. However, a function is a lot more particular and it's more picky almost. For a relation to be a function, each input must have only one output. And by input and output, they're really talking about your X and Y values. So really it means that your X's can't repeat and the graphs must pass something called the vertical line test, which we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes. And this is probably the most important part. All functions are relations, but not all relations are functions. So everything dealing with math and graphs and coordinates, everything can be described as being a relation. But in order for you to have a function, it's more specific. You have to look at your X values. Every X value can only have one Y value. Okay, so we're going to just do it in order. Let's look at ordered pairs first. Take a look at the left-hand side of the graph. That column is they're all functions. And the right-hand side of the chart is everything that is not a function. So for ordered pairs, what you're going to do is you're going to look at repeating values in your X's. So in this first example, and all we're looking at are our X's. So we have a 1, a 4, a 5, a 9, 2, 4, 6, 8. Everything is unique. There's no repeating numbers, and that is why this is a function. However, here we have a 6 and a 6. And as soon as you have a repeating pair of X values, that is no longer a function. It is only a relation. For the second part, you have a 1 here and a 1 here. Again, the X's are the same, and so it is not a function, it's a relation. All right, so for ordered pairs, always look at your X values and just try to find a matching pair. For the tables, again, you're looking at only the X column and you're trying to see if something repeats. So for the first the first column, you have 0, 1, 2, 3, nothing repeats. So this is a function. This one over here is a function. However, here we have a 13 and a 13. So your X values are repeating and it is no longer a function. It is a relation. So we just call this a function and this is a relation. Function and this is a relation. You may or may not be familiar with these mapping things, and even taking computer science here, because I know you use like input and output here. That might seem familiar to you, but basically the idea behind this is this represents your X values and this represents your Y values. So it's the exact same concept. What's happening with the arrows is the arrow pointing to the other arrow is a matching pair. So over here we have 3 pointing to 8, so that would be 3, 8. Then we have 6, 8. The 9 is pointing to the 11, and the 12 is pointing to the 11. So if it helps, you can rewrite it in coordinates like that. And then you can compare all the X values to see that there are no matching pairs. So this is going to be a function. Okay, let's do the same thing on the other side. Here we have 1 pointing to 3, so that's going to be 1, 3. Then we have 3, 5. Then we have 5, 2, but look, 5 is also pointing to the 4. So you guys notice how you have 2 5s in our list of coordinates? That makes this not a function, it is a relation. Are you guys okay with this so far? Yep. You look at X, actually, when I show you the graph, it'll make a little bit more sense. Okay, the graph is the only part where you're going to be looking at it visually, and this is something called the vertical line test. You guys learned this in grade 10? Some of you might have a little bit. The vertical line test is basically this. Imagine that you are drawing vertical lines through the graph. I'm going to get messy for a second, but it's like you're just making vertical lines through many different parts of the graph. If that vertical line passes through your graph only once, then we can say it is a function. However, if you draw a vertical line and you notice that it's passing through your graph multiple times. So for example, if I drew a vertical line here, look, it's going through the, I don't know what just happened there. It's going through here and here. Do you notice how that vertical line is passing through my graph 2 times? That means it is no longer a function, it is a relation. And so that's what has to do with the x values. The reason why we look at our x values is because in this instance, our x value has 2 different y values. Jeff? Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes. Um, if you were to get a graph that has all these loops, then if you're doing the vertical line test, anytime you pass by one of these loops, it fails the vertical line test, and that is why it's a relation. Okay, just to practice this, if you turn to the sheet at the back, just with your partner, go ahead and try some of these questions. I won't give you too long on it because we need to move on to domain and range, but you're basically looking at all 30 of these and trying to see if it is a function or a relation.